Media Mak. This is Dr. Jeremy Shermack. Happy to have you listening to the show today. This show is especially directed to my Journalism 200 students at Cuesta College. Welcome to class. This episode is all about getting you familiar with what you can expect in the class this semester. I'm so excited to have you not only in a mass communications class, but in this mass media experience that we have of running the class through a podcast, which is something that I came up with recently in a move to sort of make this a little bit more immersive and interactive, while also respecting the choice that you made to take a class in an asynchronous environment where you can listen when you want, right? And hopefully that will be very helpful to you. What you're actually doing is a phenomenon called time shifting. And time shifting is something that kind of came to be in the early 80s or so with like VCRs, right? People were out renting movies, and what it allowed them to do is watch whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. That's our normal now, right? We can stream what we want. There's no more real quote unquote primetime television. That all is related to time shifting. We'll get to that down the road, but it kind of has to do with the class. Anyway, I'm Dr. Shermack. This is your first podcast of the semester. You're going to get one of these every week. Week one, there might actually kind of be two, depending on when you jumped into the class. I do open the class up a little bit early, so you can listen to the welcome podcast and then listen to the week one podcast. So you might have a little bit. But anyway, this week, it's all about, this episode, I should say, is all about getting you set up for success here in Journalism 200. Remember, this is a fully asynchronous class. So this is about as interactive as we get in terms of hearing my voice, all right? But I want to make sure that you understand you can always come visit my office, give me a call, send me an email, hop on a Zoom, send me a pronto message. Any of those things will do in order to get a hold of me. I'm very, very happy to be available to you, and I hope you take advantage of that. Let me tell you a little bit about myself first so you can get to know me a bit. I was a community college student just like you at one point. I attended Lake Michigan College back in my native Michigan. I grew up in Michigan, and I went to community college there. But then after community college, I went to Indiana University, where I graduated with my undergrad Bachelor of Science degree. I then went on to study writing and the teaching of writing at DePaul University in Chicago. And then, as if I couldn't get enough school, I then went on to study journalism. I have a Master's of Arts in Journalism from the University of Missouri, the world's first journalism school, Mizzou Mafia. And then I got my PhD at the University of Texas in journalism, Hook 'em Horns. Community college is really meaningful to me. I was a first-generation college student myself, and I have a twin brother. We were going to college actually at the same time. So community college was a nice solution for my family. It made sense with two in there at once. And it gave me a lot of access to things and, teachers and different resources, so on and so forth. So I always really appreciated the professors that held me to a high standard. I want to make it clear that even though we're at a community college, I'm holding you to standards that you should be held to, right? This is about access. It's not about something that is easier or someplace you can coast. Or I've heard all the things, right? 13th grade, I went to LMC. They called it last minute college, right? All those silly things. Sure, they're out there, but we're here to learn. This class, I should say, is equivalent to a class that you would take at Cal Poly, at Cal State Fullerton. I actually teach at Cal Poly. I used to teach at Cal State Fullerton. I taught my undergrad at the university. I taught my grad school work at the University of Texas. There are elements of this class from all of those four-year schools. I want to prepare you to move on. If you're a transfer student, be ready to go to that 4-year. If you're a student here getting that associate's and then heading into the workforce, I want you to be prepared. So high standards, empathy, those are all the things that I lead with here in this class. And I'm excited about that, and you should be too, because I think it's a good place to be. I've been teaching for over 20 years. actually. And I love it. It's my true passion. I'm the advisor to the Cuestonian student newspaper. That's the sponsor of this podcast, by the way. You'll hear that a little bit later. And you're going to be hearing about the Cuestonian quite a bit from me as we move through the semester. So I'm telling you all of this so you have a sense of who I am and what I'm all about, right? And again, my goal here is to give you the same quality of education that you get down the road at Cal Poly or at a four-year school to prepare you to not only be a good student, but then as we move through life, to be a better media consumer, a better critic of the media, to be, how do I put it, skeptical in a positive way, right, of what we hear in the news and on social, so on and so forth. So that's really what I'm all about. If you ever have any questions about me, you just want to talk about whatever, feel free to look me up, come by. Personally, I'm a huge baseball fan. I love talking sports, baseball, football. I love music, anything like that. Come on by. So more than me, you're probably wondering what the heck is this class all about? So this class is called Introduction to Mass Communication. And we look at not only the type of media that are in our lives and really are ubiquitous in our lives these days, but we also look at how they shape culture, how they shape politics, and just your daily life. We'll start thinking about that right away in week 1. We start with print. We start with paper. We start with books. Remember those? Yeah, books. We start with books. We go newspapers, and then we kind of move forward into more electronic media like radio and television. And we go all the way through. We talk about podcasts, very meta, right? We talk about video games. So there's connections between all of those. You're going to see those connections start to come out as we move through them throughout the semester. History, theory, all that good stuff related to mass communication. Critical thinking is really important in this class. I want you to take a long look at the way that you consume media, the way you interpret it, the way you think about its place in your life. This isn't really yet about creating this media. We have classes for that here at Cuesta, and I'm happy, and I definitely will tell you about those. But this is more of a broad overview of what the industry looks like to give you an idea. And I think this class works really well for a lot of different people. It actually is transferable to pretty much every school you could find. I can't imagine there's a school out there that won't take this class. And it's great if you are, for instance, let's say you're a journalism major. You want to go into journalism in some way. Maybe it's newspaper, radio. Maybe you want to be an investigative reporter, a sports reporter. We got you covered here. Maybe you want to go into public relations, right? I worked in public relations a little bit, media relations. This is a class that's going to give you some foundational knowledge for that. Maybe you're here and you're like, I'm not quite sure what I want to do. That's a great place to be too. There's nothing wrong with that. Students sometimes get shy about that, the idea that, I don't really know what I want to do. Hey, I changed majors, I changed schools. You'll figure it out. You got time, okay? It doesn't feel like it, and I know that I don't want that to sound dismissive, right? But it's kind of a fun time to be confused. Be confused. Ask questions. Come talk to me, right? I certainly don't have all the answers. If I don't have the answer, I'll help you find someone who does. But it's okay to ask questions and be a little bit confused right now. And this is a good class to find your way and look through our world and sort of see how the media world is developing. And if there's anywhere that you can latch onto and maybe take that and run, that'd be very exciting. At the very least, we're all consumers of media, right? And we're going to learn how to be a better consumer of media as we go through the class. So we're coming up on our first break. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about the unique format of this class and a little bit about the first day access, which has to do with your textbook. All right? So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Stay connected to your campus. The Cuestonian has been Cuesta College's trusted news source since 1966. From breaking news to campus life, we cover the stories that matter to you. Follow us at The Cuestonian on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. or visit questonian.com.
Welcome back. You are listening to Media Mak. This is Dr. Shermack here with you. We are getting our feet planted on the ground here with our Journalism 200 class. And as I mentioned before we went to break, this is a unique class. I hope it's unique. I came up with the idea. I guess I'd like to think it's unique. But our class is centered around podcasts. Why did I go full podcast? Well, let me tell you about this. I've taught this class, a Journalism 200 equivalent for, we're coming up in a couple decades. I'm not that old. And I've taught it in all the different modalities. I've taught it as an entirely online class, just like we are here. I've taught it in person. I've taught it hybrid. I've taught it on Zoom. And I'll just say it straight up. Zoom sucks. I don't like teaching Zoom classes. I don't think students like taking Zoom classes. All right. I have flashbacks of COVID times when I'm on a Zoom, especially when I'm teaching on Zoom. I think Zoom is a great tool. I think Zoom, though, is kind of overused, to be honest with you. And if we can get back in person, let's get back in person. But this class, as an async class, is all about access, right? I know by offering this class asynchronously, I can reach more students, right? Not everyone can get to campus, okay? Not everyone can get to campus. So by opening this up as an async class, not only can I reach folks who may not have physical access to campus, I can also reach folks who have a schedule that is absolutely bananas, right? And can only fit in this class, at certain times of the day, whether maybe you're sitting at home listening to this at 3 a.m, that's fine. That's what this class is for. So I took this asynchronous because I wanted to help you out as students, because I have been a student. I was a student for a real long time. And I can tell you that, I'm working, right? You're working, you have family, you have other obligations. This is designed to fit around that schedule. Now, having said that, to be successful, there are moments when you need to prioritize, right? You need to prioritize your work, your reading, the discussion boards, the quizzes, all that good stuff. We'll get into that in the next segment. But I'm trying to make this class as accessible as humanly possible. And that's why we went async. It allows you to pause. It allows you to rewind. It allows you to replay. It allows you to do that time shifting that we talked about in the first segment, right? Every Monday morning during the semester, I will post new materials. That's when you're going to hear a podcast about that week's topic. All right. That's when you're going to see the discussion boards and the assignments if there is one that week. You're going to see the quizzes when they're posted that week, so on and so forth. So our weekly schedule, kind of the pace and the heartbeat of the class, things open up Monday, and then everything is due by the end of the day, Sunday, 11:59 p.m. All right. And focusing specifically on the podcast, I'm going to have those embedded. You may be listening to it right now this way. They're going to be embedded in the actual Canvas shell and on a YouTube video and a Spotify link. But if you want to listen to these on the go, subscribe to the Media Mak the Media Mak podcast, and you'll get episode updates when they load. And you might get them a couple days early if you subscribe, not monetarily, okay? I'm just meaning follow. Don't give me more money, okay? Just follow the podcast and you'll get episodes when they're updated. I may from time to time update those episodes on a Saturday or a Sunday, whatever, so you get a little bit early access. Pick what works best for you, all right? Some folks are Spotify fans, some folks are YouTube, whatever works best for you. I want to make it accessible. If you have recommendations about other ways that I can deliver the podcast, please reach out and let me know. All right, I appreciate that. Another thing about accessibility that's really important is there will be transcripts available for these podcasts, and you'll be able to find those on Canvas. So that is for everyone, so they can, maybe study, read, so on and so forth. Because when it comes to the podcasts, the content on these podcasts will be on the quizzes. It'll be on the exams. These are part of your learning in this class. This is not something just kind of silly and optional, right? I want it to be silly, and it will be silly from time to time, but it's something that you are needing to listen to each week, okay? So make sure you're ready to go for the quizzes by listening to the podcast. And I really want to encourage you to listen to the audio. I know it might be easier to maybe just read the transcript, and some weeks maybe you'll have to do that. But on the audio, you catch a lot more of the nuance, you catch the tone, you catch, some of the emphasis, the examples, so on and so forth sound a little different. So really try to engage by listening to the podcast. I certainly appreciate that. The other element where you're going to be receiving content is your textbook, okay? I always talk about textbooks at the beginning of my classes because I think sometimes professors skip over the why with textbooks. Textbooks are really important to learning. The goal is when you're in a class to be immersed in that class, all right? To be surrounded by that knowledge for, in this case, 15 weeks. I can't be there the whole time. You don't want me there the whole time. That'd be weird, okay? So what do? I have a textbook, all right? I have a textbook, and our textbook is called Media and Culture, all right? And it's an excellent textbook. I've been using it for a number of years, literally. And I will tell you straight up, if I don't think a textbook is helpful, if I don't think we're going to use it, if it's going to sit there and collect dust on your shelf, I will not have you buy it. Your money is important. Your money is, a necessity. And I understand that you could be out there spending it on other things. But this textbook is excellent. It offers a lot of foundational information about history, theory that I just don't have time to get to in a class, maybe on a podcast or in a shell on Canvas. So that textbook is providing, a lot of information that is foundational to your advancement of your knowledge in this class. All right, so it's super important. Here's the great news about your textbook. All right, and I think you're going to dig this. Your textbook is already available to you. All right, it's available to you through a program we have here at Cuesta called First Day Access. And if you look, maybe you're on Canvas right now, if you look on your Canvas menu at left, you're going to see a link that says course materials, and then I think in parentheses it says First Day Access. If you click there, that will take you directly to the ebook version of our textbook, Media and Culture. It's ready for you right there. And First Day Access is a great program because it saves you money. We love that, right? It saves you money. So what it does is the program purchases textbook at a lower cost. All right, it's included. You are billed through the college for this textbook, but it's at a much, much lower cost than what you would pay out there in the retail world or even at the bookstore. All right, so a lot of times students will be like, hey, Shermack, I got a bill for your class. What's the deal? And that feels really icky to me as a professor. But the good news for me, and I think, no, not for me, more so for you, is that rate is going to be much cheaper than what you would pay if you bought it online. All right. Now, the other deal is you can opt out of this. There are instructions. If you go on Canvas, there's a page in the welcome module that discusses the First Day program, and you can read there how to opt out of this. Full disclosure, I would tell you not to. All right. If you ask me, hey, Shermack, what should I do here? Should I opt out? I would tell you not to, because again, you're going to have access right away, and it's going to be cheaper than what you pay at retail. Some students like to. Some students might have a friend or a sibling or something that gives them a book, maybe took the class before. I totally get that. That's why the opt-out is there. But I wouldn't recommend it, okay? Our First Day program is operated by Barnes & Noble, who operates our bookstore here on campus. If you have issues, all this information is on Canvas, but I just want to repeat it here for clarity's sake. If you have any issues with your First Day access, don't call me, because I am dumb when it comes to knowing how to handle the First Day access from a technical side. All right. There's a phone number. You can call 1-844-9-EBOOKS, EBOOKS. Figure out the numbers on your phone. You can also email them bookstore customer care, all one word, at BN, as in Barnes & Noble, bncollege.com. And again, that's all available on your Canvas. But First Day Access is a wonderful program. That's why I participate in it. You'll have access right away to your textbook, okay? So again, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I can help direct you to someone who may know better, or just reach out directly to the bookstore. But I will be happy to shepherd your questions over there if need be. All right, we're through segment 2. When we come back for segment 3, we're going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of the class, including how do you earn your grade? How's that for a cliffhanger? We'll be right back.
Want real journalism experience? Join the Questonian. Build your portfolio, develop professional skills, and tell the stories that matter to our campus. Enroll in JOUR 202 or 203 for 4 credits. Questions? Email thequestonian@cuesta.edu. The Questonian. Your story starts here.
It's the Media Mak podcast here with Dr. Shermack. Welcome back from our second and our final break as we enter our final segment here, segment 3. Welcome to Journalism 200. Students, happy to have you on board. Let's talk about the thing that all students want to know. How do I get an A? How do I get an A in your class? All right. So here's how your grade is broken down. All right. We have 25% of your grade is for discussion boards. I'm going to talk in more detail about those discussion boards here in a moment. 25% of your grade is what's called a read and react assignment. All right? Read and react is exactly what it sounds like. Either you read or sometimes we view something. Maybe it's an article, maybe it's a little video, and then you write a written reaction to it. When we introduce read and reacts, it's not for a couple weeks yet. We'll go through and talk about exactly what needs to be included in those, right? But it's a written response, okay? This is where I want to see your brain at work. I don't want to see AI. Please don't use AI, okay? We'll talk about that in a moment too. I want to see your brain at work. I want to see your summary skills, how well you can summarize that article or video or whatever we consume. And then most importantly, I want to see how well you can analyze it, okay? That's the critical thinking I'm talking about. That's the next level higher ed thinking that we want to display here in the class. So 25% are those 4 read and react assignments. 20% of your grade are the weekly quizzes, okay? Quizzes are going to cover what are on our podcasts. They're going to cover the assigned reading for that week, and they're going to cover current events. You're like, wowza, that's a lot. It is kind of a lot, right? The quizzes are not written in a way that I would say are gotchas, all right? I'm not going to, ask you a question about Thomas Edison and ask you what his pant size was, right? It's going to be something that really matters, that has to do with, what we're talking about in the class. I'm not into like gotcha questions. I'm trying to help you learn. I think you do a lot of learning as you take quizzes, as you try to regurgitate. That's a gross word. I wish I wouldn't have used that word. It's like moist. Anyway, as you try to come up with the information from your own brain, right? And I think you learn a lot that way. That's how you hold on to knowledge. So there'll be questions about the reading. There'll also be questions, like I said, about current events. Look, you don't need to be an expert on the news. I know a lot of students are a little bit resistant to following the news. I don't love that. Okay, I just got to be honest with you, but I do understand it. All right, I do understand it. Having said that, just have a surface level understanding of what's going on in the world. Scroll through a news aggregator like Google News or Apple News a few times a week, or maybe right before you take the quiz. have an idea what's happening in your world. If you're going into journalism or anything adjacent to journalism, you're going to need to do that anyway. And I think just as a good citizen, it's a good idea to know what's happening in your world. And there is no shortage of things happening in our world. And I know sometimes they're tough, right? I get that. But I want you to understand what's happening in our world. That's why I have current event questions on the quizzes. We have a midterm and we have a final, all right? The midterm covers the first half. The final covers the second half. They are not cumulative, all right? And on those exams, we'll talk about them much more when we get closer to them. But the exams basically bring back questions from the quizzes, so you really know that material. And then there's some matching, and then there's some short answer. Notice I didn't say essay questions, short answer questions, all right? It's all designed to make sure you're getting the top level, big concepts, so you can leave here even more of a smarty pants than you already are. So that is your grade. And if you have any questions on any of this, of course, reach out to me. Let's talk a little bit about the discussion boards, all right? I know, because students have told me, that discussion boards are sort of the bane of your existence, right? That they give you headaches, they seem very performative, so on and so forth. I completely understand that. So why the heck do I still have them? Well, number one, I do think good things still happen in discussion boards. I think there is interaction. And when we're in an asynchronous environment, we lose interaction, don't we? And we need to have it somewhere, right? So that's why I still have discussions. I try to have discussions, though, where things come out that we can't just find by Googling or going to ChatGPT. They're personal things, not personal as in your deepest, darkest secrets, but personal in things that only you might know, right? How do you feel about a certain topic? What do you think about a certain media out there? These sort of questions. I try to have my questions work that way, and I'm always trying to improve them and make them better. So it's something unique, it's something fresh that you can enjoy. Yes, you can enjoy the discussion questions. Each week, with the exception of some here or there, each week the discussion boards ask for 3 posts, all right? There's an initial post to the initial prompt that I give you. That should be in by 11:59 on Thursday, okay? And then there are 2 replies, all right? And I try to give you concrete direction and instruction on the replies, so you have an idea where to go, where it's not just like, oh, I really liked what you had to say, cool. So lame, right? That is so lame. We don't want to do that. So I want you to have, I ask you, like, say this, reply to this. Like, I try to give you more instruction on that to make those a little bit better. So, if you're going to be surface level, you're probably going to get a surface level grade, all right? Don't do that. And honestly, surface level is so boring. You have a little bit of you don't have a little bit. You have a big bit of a role to play in making these more fun. Make them more fun. Say more fun things. Say interesting things. I'm in there. I'm reading them. All right? Entertain me at least. Okay? So you can do this and you can do them well. Grammar, spelling, punctuation, count. It's loose. I understand it's a discussion board, but be a pro. Right? Be a pro. Control those variables when you can. I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think in segment 2 about the rhythm of the class. Everything turns live on Monday at midnight, all right? Thursday is when the initial discussion post is due, and then Sunday is when pretty much everything else is due. So read and reacts when they're assigned, quizzes, so on and so forth. I got some policies, all right? This is where I got to play sheriff, and this is, maybe not the most fun part of being a professor, but I got to do it. Here's one thing that always gets people's attention. I don't take late work, okay? I don't take late work. I don't like late work. A funny thing happened about, I don't know, I'm not even going to say how long ago it was. It just makes me sound old, but rather long time ago, I stopped taking late work. And you know what happened? I stopped getting late work. Now you might say, well, they knew they couldn't do it, so they just didn't turn it in. But no, I had students tell me, they said, well, yeah, if you let me do late work, I'm just going to do late work. And I don't think anything we do in this class, not that it's not challenging or difficult, but I don't think anything that we do is going to tax you enough where you need to turn it in late, right? I keep thinking about what are the reasons why we turn in late work. And I think a lot of late work comes in just from being lackadaisical. Okay? And we don't want to do that. Now, I am not a complete monster. All right? I'm a pretty nice guy when I'm asleep. If you have late work that needs to come in because of a situation with your family, a situation with your health, a situation with your job, I'm an understanding dude, all right? Reach out to me, let me know. What I want there is communication, okay? What I don't like is like a week after the fact, when I enter a 0 in the grade book, I get an email right away from a student and be like, I can't believe I got a 0, because I didn't hear from you. And I don't know if I would have heard from you if I hadn't entered the 0 in the grade book, right? I want you to care a little bit more about that. So be proactive. I'll take delayed work because of something happened in your life, but I won't take lackadaisical late work. And that a lot of that comes from my journalism background. Forgive me for that, but deadlines don't work in journalism, and this is a journalism class. You can do better. If life prevents you from doing better, talk to me. All right, let me know. Shoot me an email, shoot me a pronto, all these words that you can use to communicate with me, use them. Let me know. I'm happy to support you, happy to help, okay? Another rule, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, AI. Oh, AI. Generate your own thoughts. Use your own brain. If you're using AI to do spell check, grammar check, that's fine. I use Grammarly for that. I get it. That's a pretty good use of it. I'm not like anti-AI. What I'm anti is students replacing themselves with AI, because I don't think AI is a replacement. It's not good enough yet to be a replacement. Have you used AI? It doesn't even know what day of the week it is. All right? You are better. You are smarter. I want to put a bumper sticker on your car so the person behind you knows it too. You are better and smarter than AI. You can do it. Use your brain. It's a muscle. You got to exercise it. AI does not exercise it. And it's really not interesting. Okay? I did not sign up for this to just read AI. I want to hear from you. You interest me. I'm here for you, literally. Okay? So no AI in the class. First offense is a 0. Consider this your warning. There's no redo on that. There's no like, oh, I didn't know what AI was. That's scary, right? If you're like, oh no, a robot like came in and took my work and did it for me, and I didn't know it did it. No, you know what's happening. So I don't do redos. That's a 0. Don't use AI. When we're in discussion, there's going to be some things that come up that get a little dicey, right? We operate in a divisive world. These are unprecedented times. Haven't we been saying that for the past 30 years? But I want you to understand there might be things in class where you disagree with each other. Be respectful, be kind, be mindful. Higher education is all about hearing other people and being respectful in discussion. I want that to be true with our class. I want us to be a symbol of that civility. That's really important, okay? So just keep that in mind. Look, I don't want to sound like, the Grim Reaper here laying out all these rules. That's not what it's about. I mention them at the forefront because I have high expectations for you, because I know you are capable. I know you are capable. Getting you to believe you are capable is sometimes really, really hard. And if I just let late work come in and you're just using the robots to do your work with AI, we don't get there. We don't get to a point where you can look at your corpus of work over the course of a semester in this class, any class, where you can look back at that and say, you know what, damn it, I did know that. I am capable. That's what I want for you, because that's a great feeling. Okay? So understand that. That's my approach with this. It is not to be the bad guy, all right? It is to enhance your view of yourself. When you let tools do the work for you, you can't do that. Okay. As we head to the close here of episode 1, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this is a good format for you. I hope you'll reach out and say hello. We have a hello introductory discussion board. I know those are kind of standard, but I like to see learn a little bit about everyone, say hello to everyone. So please reach out at least there. That's required. Some information you should know. Office hours. I have office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 11 a.m. and on Wednesdays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. I want to make it very clear that if those don't work for you, I'm on campus like all the time. I get made fun of because I'm here so much. I'm not kidding. B, more importantly, if you need to schedule a time with me, let me know. I will make it work, okay? We can even hop on a Zoom or a phone. Remember the phone? We can hop on there. Whatever you need, don't hesitate. I would say the best way to reach me is through email. My email is Jeremy_, I hate that underscore in there, Jeremy_Shermack@cuesta.edu. All right. You can also fire a message to me through Pronto. You can fire a message to me in the inbox on Canvas. I will get them all the same. I also have another feature on Canvas called Ask Me Anything, AMA, as the kids say on social. AMA, Ask Me Anything boards. So if you have a question, put it on the board. I will respond to it. Ask Me Anything boards. There'll be one for every week. And then if you're like really, really hard up for content, you're also welcome to follow me on social media. I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, @JeremyShermack. I can't guarantee anything too exciting, but that's where I am. And I always say this to my students, after the semester, I will follow you back. If you don't want me to do that, just tell me. All right. But students get very offended when I don't follow them back, and I try not to while you are my student. I know that's weird, but I try to keep some separation, at least while you're in my class. But that's up to you. Okay. So anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening. I think it's been a great show. I've enjoyed this podcast format, our first podcast of the semester. Next time you hear me, it will be with the week 1 episode, where we're going to talk a little bit about overall concepts, theories, and kind of the broad idea of what the heck is mass communication. All right. Reach out if you have questions. Thanks so much for listening. This has been Media Mak. I'm Dr. Shermack. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.